This dude has an insane background, but before we get started, his name is Luigi Mangione. That's right. The person of interest that is under arrest for the UnitedHealthcare CEO shooting is Luigi Mangione. Okay, he is out of his mind, yacked in the gills, yacked to the goddamn gills, incredibly Italian, and I mean, 10% body fat percentage, like it's pretty solid, looking fit, looking tight, okay? Great eyebrows, very powerful. I think that's literally what got him caught, like high key. It seems like the eyebrows is what, those goddamn Italian caterpillars right there is probably what got him caught, because honestly, people that have been in a 10-mile radius of this were like, oh, dude, that's the eyebrow guy. So the moment that they saw those eyebrows in that taxi cab, people were like, everyone in Pennsylvania was alerted to this presence. What are his right-wing associations? I didn't see anything wrong with what he's posted. He's like a Peter Thiel fan. He doesn't like Jordan Peterson from what I've seen, and we'll dive further into it. But like, I think he's like, he likes Lex Friedman. Yeah, he's like a right-wing podcast bro. He's an Andrew Huberman fan. He's retweeting Peter Thiel posts. Talking about AI. He follows Sam Altman. Okay. When I logged it, as soon as the name came out, he had like 300 followers or something. And since then, he has gone up, by thousands, 74,000 followers. And I find it very odd, but also very American. Here he is, Lex Friedman. It's amazing how caffeine really is the only drug that has achieved this level of social acceptance. Okay. He likes reading books. He's a tech guy. Like these are some of the things that we have figured out. He was a Hasanabi head. Top of the hour Dankies. Yeah, he's not a Hasanabi head. Okay, calm down. That's not a real tweet. American politics is so schizophrenic as always. Okay, always. Never forget that. That's a very common thing that happens all the time. You will never be able to immediately clock and identify a person's political associations, especially one that even takes like direct action. The name of the UnitedHealthcare CEO shooter is Luigi Mangione. That's right. He is the person of interest, Luigi Mangione, who is under arrest for the UnitedHealthcare CEO assassination. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Let's take a look at the special report from ABC News.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We are coming on the air because multiple law enforcement officials say a person of interest is now
Mamma mia!
being questioned in the New York City murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. They say he's identified as 26-year-old Luigi Mangione. Here's New York City Mayor Eric Adams with an update.
Thompson of UnitedHealthcare was the victim of a senseless act of violence. Our officers have been working around the clock. Many of them did not go home to pursue this individual. It was crucial that we were able to remove him off the streets of America, and we were going to seek.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I felt really unsafe. The Italians are on a come up big time. Do you understand?
Him out, no matter where he was at the time. And so this is a strong person of interest. The police commissioner and
he's strong, all right. He's right. He's strong.
We'll go over where we are right now in the investigation. He matches the description of the identification we've been looking for. He's also in possession of several items that we believe will connect him to this incident. How did we do it? Good old-fashioned police work. The chief of detectives and the police commissioner made the decision to release as much of a photo that we had at the time. We sent it across the country, and someone, a McDonald's employee, did something we ask every American to do. If you see something, say something, but most importantly, do something. And they did. And because of that, we believe we have a strong person of interest to deal with this case. I want to now turn it over to the police commissioner of the city of New York, Commissioner Tisch.
He went to Starbucks first, got nabbed there, Then he got caught at a McDonald's in Allentown. BDS would have saved him.
Earlier this morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges. At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of UnitedHealthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting.
This is what Altoona is famous for.
Pizza, and then there is pizza.
Altoona Sicilian is what Altoona Hotel Pizza was like back.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably the radicalizing principle, dude. This is like, if I'm an Italian man and I find out that this is what they've done to my most significant cultural artifact, I'm gonna lose it too. Oh my God. What the hell are they doing in Altoona? Hey, yo, look at this shit. Reminds me of George W. Bush's favorite meal, which was, I think, a pizza cheeseburger, like a cheeseburger pizza. George W. Bush ate like a child. And I feel like this is the version of that. He was there for his next hit. Yeah, he went to Altoona to kill this guy next. It's like your crimes against Italians will be addressed today.
For customers at 29th Street Pizza Subs and more.
And it has yellow cheese on it we put Genoa salami underneath with green peppers. And it's done very well for us.
And customers from Brooklyn, New York agree.
It's the best pizza from here.
Oh my God. Yeah, Elon Musk has been taking his son out as a little human shield nonstop since the CEO assassination. Is pretty funny. Like, he has literally been in public only with his son since that CEO assassination. He's like, hey guys, I just want to remind you that I am a human being. I am a father. I'm a human being. You know, please just remember. But look at this Altoona McDonald's that he got popped at.
Acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the...
Wait, this was literally carrying that shit on? He didn't dump it? Bro, you can learn anything online, okay? You can literally learn anything online. I saw a video of like the Syrian rebels that were watching a YouTube tutorial on how to fly a helicopter sitting inside of the cockpit of the helicopter. And now I'm beginning to realize that this guy was not a professional at all and just simply watched a YouTube video on how to carry out an assassination, because he should have watched more YouTube videos on how to, I don't know, hide the evidence. Yeah, I hate to do Monday morning quarterbacking here. The way he carried it out was pretty smooth. And then he turns around and he's like, yeah, I'm going to go to Altoona. By the time you get to Altoona, you have already left the state, okay? Dump it in a goddamn river, man. Make it the law enforcement, make it law enforcement the problem of law enforcement later down the line when someone is doing magnet fishing. Was he gonna go and kill other CEOs or something? Dude thought he would get laid if he showed proof. Turns out a mutual friend of mine, oh, this is from the Prospect, Luke Coldstein, says, turns out a mutual friend of mine went to high school with Mangione and was on the wrestling team with him, says he was a class valedictorian. He had back surgery a few months ago and went missing. No one had heard from him. Oh my God. Well, now we know what the motive is, it seems. He's an incel though? No, I've seen him with like a lot of ladies, dude. I don't think he was an incel. I don't know. I mean, he might have been, we'll see. I'll dive into his background a little bit more because like looking at the podcast consumption that he has. Oh, that's his sister? Okay. Well, looking at the podcast consumption, I could see him being like, it seems like he was like incel adjacent on a lot of the podcasts that he was consuming, but like, I don't know if I don't think this guy's an incel. I think maybe like a men's right activist lightly, but I don't think he's an incel at all. But once again, do not try to understand the mind of someone who is a political operative in the United States of America. Avid reader of 295 books listed on Goodreads. Academically, he holds a master's and bachelor's degree in computer science from the University of Pennsylvania. Additionally, he gained recognition as a valedictorian at Gilman School in Baltimore, showcasing his academic excellence. His work includes contributions to machine learning and robotics, as evidenced by projects on GitHub. It makes sense. He was a Jack stem cell. When you have no formal humanities education, you find yourself in the throes of radicalization by the likes of Andrew Huberman and shit. Become like kind of stem cell adjacent. Yeah, here is a very famous tweet that we have to point to. He literally, quote, retweeted Elon Musk's favorite neo-Nazi here. Immigration won't solve anything. It's maybe a short-term solution at best. Japan will be fine as long as it stays Japanese, this guy says. I am yes, you are no. He is a famous neo-Nazi online. Elon Musk's favorite, as a matter of fact. He, quote, retweets him and says, modern Japanese urban environment is an evolutionary mismatch for the human animal. The solution to failing birth rates isn't immigration, it's cultural. Encourage natural human interaction, sex, physical fitness, and spirituality. Ban Tenga fleshlights and Japan Real Ho custom porn star pocket being sold in Don Quixote grocery stores. Yeah, that's going to fix the problem, man. You're definitely right. Yeah, it's because the Japanese are too vociferously, they're ravaging these sex toys that you can purchase at Don Quixote. And you know he's a weeb too, because he knows what Don Quixote is. If you know what Don Quixote is, you're a goddamn weeb. Replace conveyor belt sushi restaurants, vending machine ordering with actual human interaction with a waiter. I'm willing to bet that there is classic dumbass otaku that doesn't even understand Japanese culture, especially because human interaction is there's so much need for human interaction that like a big part of Japanese nightlife industry revolves around people that basically give that human interaction to you while you're engaging in social drinking, even if you are alone. So it's not the fact that there's too many conveyor belt sushi and restaurant vending machines. Replace 24/7 esports cafes with young males. Earn false fitness signals via Tekken fighting and Overwatch shooting games with athletics in school. Heavily stigmatized maid cafes where lonely salarymen pay young girls to dress and anime characters to perform anime dances for them. Revitalize traditional Japanese culture, Shintoism, Okinawan karate, onsen, etc. I love talking about the Japanese birth rates without addressing Japanese work culture, capitalism, and also the tendency of developed nations across the board to run into this trap regardless, especially if they don't engage in any sort of migration. This is important to understand and acknowledge that the issue of healthcare is a unifying principle, is a unifying problem. Two reasons for why it's not shocking to me that he is not a card-carrying leftist or whatever, but instead is this like indecipherable kind of right-wing guy. Okay, one, he's a stem cell. Okay. No understanding of humanities, probably assumes that humanities are bad. Two, the right dominates the space for political violence. They just dominate it. They own it. They dominate it. The right is so used to doing political violence that when you look at two of the Trump attempted assassins, Ryan Ruth, my NATO hero, the #1 NATO defender, the one NATO voter, Ryan Ruth, and the other guy, the one that shot at Trump and popped him in the ear. One was a registered Republican. The other one had voted for Donald Trump. Ryan Ruth had literally voted for Donald Trump. Thomas Matthew Crooks. Yeah, that's his name. I feel as though the right is so used to the political violence and owning that space that they just kind of do violence to themselves. Can tell you that not a single person who went to Gilman is a leftist. I mean, it doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be a leftist at all. This reaffirms my position. This is my point. My point is, this is not a left-right issue. This is definitely a class issue, and it certainly impacts even rich people from rich families. I've talked about this before. When I was broke and I worked at the Young Turks, I had healthcare. I had healthcare that was given to me by the company that I was paying for, right? And the patchwork solution to losing my job and to moving on to, full-time streaming as a career, the patchwork solution in that process was for me to be able to retain my healthcare, but pay for the entire premiums under what is known as COBRA, okay? That is the Democratic Party's patchwork solution to the healthcare problem, is that, at a time of financial uncertainty, we are giving you the opportunity to pay for the entirety of the premium that your work was paying for. So all of a sudden, I was paying like $600 a month when I didn't make that much money. It's insane. But another thing that I also found out in this process, once my COBRA expired and I had to get my own healthcare personally, self-employed healthcare, was the reality that while my financial situation had dramatically improved at that point when I was looking for healthcare, even if you have money in this country, healthcare is still fucked. You can't even buy like the appropriate full tilt coverage as a person, as an individual, because the way that this process works is like you have to start a corporation and you have to literally get corporate healthcare. The premium healthcare is not given to you as a singular individual. It's crazy. So even if you have the money to pay for healthcare, they still do not give you the healthcare, at least in the state of California. So obviously, regardless of the fact that this kid probably comes from a relatively well-off family, he went to a private school in Baltimore, he still got fucked over by American healthcare. That's it. Yeah, his brother is seemingly a Republican politician in Maryland as well. Look, there's a very sad story here. Turns out a mutual of mine that went to high school with Mangione and was on the wrestling team with him says he was class valedictorian. Hey, are you okay? Nobody's heard from you in months, and apparently your family's looking for you. Thinking of you in prayers every day in your name. Know you are missed and loved. Hey man, I need you to call me. I don't know if you are okay or just in a super isolated place and have no service, but I haven't heard from you in months. You made commitments to me on my wedding, made commitments to me for my wedding, and if you can't honor them, I need to know so I can plan accordingly. Like I think he had to get back surgery and just like fell off the map. His Twitter account, I think this might have been his cousin or something, but his Twitter header literally has spinal surgery x-rays. Luigi Mangione's Twitter header has this x-rayed as Goodreads has these books. He must have gone through some kind of personal hell with insurance. Crooked, outwitting the back pain industry and getting on the road to recovery. Back Mechanic by Dr. Stuart McGill. He gave it a 2 stars. Crooked, outwitting the back pain industry and getting on the road to recovery. He didn't like that book. I guess he didn't like the book because it said it didn't tell him at any point that the way to outwit the healthcare industry is by taking matters into your own hands. That's why he gave it 2 stars. Where he was like, yeah, no, I am not. All jokes aside, this is a real moment of radicalization for a lot of Americans. Yeah. Mohammed says, Jim bro who's mad at insurance for how they're covering his injuries. I get it. Yeah, it's if you guys recall, when I first went back on my fitness journey, once the pandemic lockdown restrictions were lifted and I went back to working out, I had a shit ton of injuries because I had not moved my body enough. I was, not eating enough protein, multitude of different factors at play here. But I recall going to the doctor for a slip disc, and I was very frustrated, not with the healthcare coverage in that situation, because like I am fortunate enough to be able to afford such things without even thinking about it at this point. But if you remember, I went to the doctor, and one of the things that was incredibly frustrating, and now I don't have this back pain anymore, thank God, but one of the things that was incredibly frustrating was like the tendency of a lot of medical staff to, instead of subscribing physical therapy, they were just trying to medicate me. And like I am obviously pro modern medicine, as you guys know. This is something that I am not like an RFK Jr. type of person. But one thing, did I say subscribing? Sorry, prescribing. But one thing that I personally experienced that I found to be very frustrating is that like prescribing pain relief medication when you have a injury is not addressing the like major cause of that dysfunction. And this is something that I talked about at that point as well. This isn't to say that like all pain relief is bad, and I'm not saying that at all. I think there's a time and place for that, for sure. There's chronic pain. I totally understand that. I think the tendency, even, and this is not even like insurance related, even though insurance factors into this equation a little bit, but the tendency to overprescribe pain relief medication rather than try to address the problem and take this more complicated approach that requires you to identify where the muscular imbalance is and identify why you have injured yourself and try to fix it. Like that is a long and convoluted process. So I think that's part of the reason why people are way more people just immediately go, yeah, just take this pain medication and just like rest it and it's fine. And this is frustrating. Every aspect of medicine in this country still at a certain point revolves around the profit motive. It is something that does not make sense. Even if you've taken an Econ 101 course, you understand that medicine, pharmaceuticals, and any sort of like medicine in general, any sort of medical help in general, has inelastic demand. If you don't get it, you die. So you have to get it, right? So the very fact that we still use this as an opportunity to generate profits is insane to me. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people have distaste and distrust for healthcare in this country. And that's why you got the likes of RFK Jr., so many like anti-vaccine people in America that have this kind of attitude, because they see the issue with for-profit healthcare. They recognize the issue with for-profit pharmaceuticals, and it breaks their brains. And instead of recognizing that the solution to this problem is by taking the profit motive out of this equation, a lot of people just end up, making up their own minds about this shit and despising healthcare and despising medicine even. It's a much larger problem. But I think the important part of this, the important hinge point here to address is that profit is slammed into this sector, in every orifice of the sector, that should not have anything to do with profit at all. And every single person has a story like the one I just told you. Every single person, because at a certain point you needed healthcare. Unless you're like one of the most fortunate people on the planet, you still needed healthcare at a certain point. And when you got it, you were shocked at the bill. When you got it, you were shocked at the process where this healthcare that you paid for or that your parents paid for, and they denied your claims. We live in a country where there is a concept of medical bankruptcy. Europeans cannot comprehend that. They're like, what do you mean medical bankruptcy? That is an insane process. And yet it is a very real process. It's a pretty shitty position overall.